wezimbabwe ndadzoka zvekare nemajoka ekare. Zvinhu zviri kuitika iko zvinezvi anotori ma1 pari kupisa pari hot, a lot is going on. Ndiri kutambira shoko riri kubva nekuna Mudarageza vari kupindura. Chakaitika ndechekuti Ziyambi ainzi akatumwa netsamba dzaangabva nadzo nekunana president Mnangagwa ari kupindura nyaya yedosi yari kwa VP Chiwenga. Saka iye ari kunzi pakupindura kwaari kuita manje vabva vauya vachimupindurawo futi General Chiwenga through his spokesperson Comrade Bombshell Blessed Geza, according to these letters dzabuditswa on his X. So panapa pari kunzi zvoni response to ZANU-PF Secretary for Legal Affairs Ziyambi on his so-called response to the presentation that was made by Vice President General retired Chiwenga to Emerson from the cornered citizens of Zimbabwe. Ziyambi, ZANU-PF Secretary for Legal Affairs and Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, and on the direct instructions of President Mnangagwa, attempted dismally to respond to the damning and defining presentations that Vice President General Chiwenga made to President Emerson Mnangagwa to him at a presidium meeting. We know that this dismal report, which Ziyambi presented on behalf of President Emerson Mnangagwa, was prepared in the office of Attorney General Virginia Mabiza with the assistance of PA Kurakwashe Mnangagwa, Jonathan Moyo, Glenn Mpami, Patrick Chinamasa, Virginia Mabiza, Kudakwashe Tagure, Scott Sakupkanya with his grade 7 and George Charamba. Surprisingly, the recipient of that report, who was President Emerson Mnangagwa and only his presidium members, namely VP Mohadi, ZANU-PF chairperson Opamu Chinguri, and the then ZANU-PF permanent secretary Dr. Obed Mpo, failed to address the critical issues and instead directed his incompetent team led by Ziyambi to issue this more than a nonsensical legal opinion. Ziyambi's response is the final equivocally proof that the Zimbabwean state has been well captured by a syndicate and is being run by an incompetent and incapacitated president who is now badly ravaged by vascular dementia and is entangled in complicity with Rigananda, high corruption and looting of our state coffers. Ziyambi response on behalf of President Mnangagwa is a formal surrender of governance to kleptocracy, a betrayal so profound that it constitutes a direct abdication of the sacred duty that President Mnangagwa has to the people of Zimbabwe. The grave allegations presented by Vice President Chiwenga were a constitutional alarm bell and a final plea to rescue the nation from the jaws of a predatory cartel. The regime's response, which was presented by Ziyambi, was a deliberate and contemptuous rejection of that plea by instructing his minister to openly embrace, own, protect and defend the criminals looting our public funds. President Mnangagwa has not only failed in his office but also breached his oath of the office and committed an impeachable offense, and this is a conscious abdication of power. The president has equivocally demonstrated that his primary allegiance is not to the constitution nor to the people from whom his authority is derived, but to the criminal cartel headed by Kudakwashe Tagure. In penning this response, President Mnangagwa has pleaded guilty to high corruption. The evidence is now incontrovertible, and the grand looting witnessed in daylight is authorized, supervised and controlled by President Mnangagwa personally for the benefit of his family, friends and his Riganandas. In this Ziyambi response on behalf of President Mnangagwa, yes, in response crowned himself the godfather of corruption and kingpin of Rigananda, who are destroying our country. The blatant disregard for the serious issues that Vice President Chiwenga raised is a direct and unforgivable insult to every citizen of Zimbabwe. A government is appointed by the people and must always act in the arrest of people. The Mnangagwa administration has now formally declared that its interest is the protection of a Kabaluta Zhigananda. When government becomes an active threat to the well-being and future of its people, and when it prioritizes paying criminals over stocking hospitals with medicine and ensuring meal is on the table, it fulfills its legitimacy and moral authority. The suffering of the people is the direct consequence of billions systematic stolen by Kwacheta Grey, Wikne Ochivayo, Scott Sakupukanya, Delish Ngwaya, and their Zhigananda associates under President Mnangagwa's protection. To demand that the nation tolerates this for a day longer is to declare war on the populace, and this is why 17 October 2025 Million Men March is fully justified, and will see the eradication of this Zhigananda syndrome and state capture that has gripped ZANU-PF. Our government and President Emmerson Mnangagwa, such tyranny can only result and justify an uprising by the people to protect their well-being and future. And we repeat, 17 October 2025 Men March is fully justified. The right to defend one's destiny against a government infested in grand corruption and fundamental and inherent right of a betrayed people. Ziyambi pathetic reliance on due process is expected as a farce when the head of the state is the chief architect of impunity. Kwacheta Grey, Wikne Ochivayo, Scott Sakupukanya, Delish Ngwaya, and their Zhigananda associates and their Zhigananda cartel are the real criminals around the president. These individuals must be imprisoned and not hosted in President Emmerson Mnangagwa private office, where the nation's assets are being auctioned off. The public leaking of the disgraceful response which was done by Delishwa Patrick Chinamasa is a testament to a regime drunk on power, believing itself to be untouchable. They have missed their last opportunity to distance the so-called Second Republic from high corruption and Zhigananda, because they are its source. We therefore welcome President Mnangagwa's decision to update his moral and constitutional authority through this document, which was presented by Ziyambi. Hopes of the Zimbabwean people now rightly turn to Vice President Chiwenga. He has demonstrated principles, values, and courage to lead. He is a principled and committed patriot who can genuinely deliver Zimbabwe for all, possesses the integrity required to lead the country into the 2028 harmonized elections and to restore the sovereignty and prosperity that has been stolen from the people by President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his Zhiganandas. It is now time for accountability for the reclamation of our country and for the restoration of the people's dignity. And from Friday 17 September 2025, the people of Zimbabwe shall rise against state capture and high corruption being perpetrated by President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his Zhigananda, led by Kwacheta Grey, Wikne Ochivayo, Scott Sakupukanya, Delish Ngwaya. For yava perera papo yava kuna mudharageza tsamba yese nanga chinigina yakatirebe zvayo but iri kunzi for and behalf of concerned citizens of the Republic of Zimbabwe ndo paperera azvaita ndo matauriro azviri kuitwa namudharageza. So inini chandiri kuongorora munapo chandiri kuona chikunyanyotisa kutaurwa namudharageza ndechekuti tsamba kana kuti minduro yakanyorwa yakabudiswa naZiyambi achipindura VP Chiwenga padosi yari iri kunzi ndo yatokonzeresa. These people they think they are untouchable, vabatike zvekumhanya, saka vari kuita zvavari kuda, saka anzi vatomisa their last chance yekuti vange vachita zvinhu, saka kureva kuti vatowedzera hasha dzevanhu. I always tell you guys kuti there's no smoke without fire. Ukaona tsambedzo dzangu kubudisirana ziva kuti zvatanga pachamhanywa zvekuti kana ndikutaura zvinhu zvikafamba according matauriro ava zviri kuitwa mutsamba iyi, ndaona vamwe vanhu vamhanya, ndaona vamwe vanhu vatiza, nekuti hakusi kudyiwa rinopisa ende rinopisa harisi kuzodyikika. Saka ndonyaya iri panapa mhuri yeZimbabwe ndingoya nayo ndakakubatirai kozi zvimwe zvinhu zvakakosha kuti tingogara tangokuzivisai zvese kuitira kuti pamunozoda kuzonzwisisa kuti what exactly is going on, politics dziri kutangira papi zichiperera papi, tokuziva kuti takazvitanga kubva kwokutanga kwacho kusvika kwazvinoperera, takazvidocumenta zvese kuitira kuti mukingsonge muchinzwisisa zviri kuitika. Neiwaya ndava nayo nhasi ndakakubatirai. Bye bye.
Kulian TV, Team VAT. Asi vanhu vachishamsika, Kulian TV haichatsika, saka subscribe wozolaika, uchawana zvese pana chichazosha. Everybody say Kulian, yeah. Information iri brilliant. everybody say kulien kulien